Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah waliyus salihin. Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu rasuluh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my brothers and sisters. And just a live Q&A today about what? About parenting. Parenting is probably one of the most important skills to have in 2021. People talk about management. How did you improve over 2020? What did you do? How many courses did you do? How did you become better at this or that? If you ask me, as a school principal, as an educational consultant, as a counselor for many years, having traveled the world, different countries, working with different Muslim communities, what is the greatest skill to have in 2021? Well, parenting is one of the greatest skills probably to have in 2021. And why is that? Because our children are being targeted from all angles to change. And if you don't see that, well, then just look again into the behavior of your children. Are they more towards respecting you, towards listening to you, or are they more towards disobeying you, disrespecting you, and misbehaving? Why? Are they more towards screen time and having more and more screen and exposure, or are more towards doing chores around the house and contributing to the house and to your family and wanting to talk to you? We find that that's not the case. So there is a systematic attack on our children to make them weaker and weaker. It's done with the media, it's done in education, the curriculum, the schools. Things are not conducive for them to be more righteous or more spiritual, closer to God. Is more about, just being children. Be yourself, or don't even be yourself anymore. Be whatever you want. And we used to be told, like before, you can be whatever you want, right? And now, well, kids are saying, yeah, I want to be boys will say, I want to be a girl. And girls say, I want to be a boy. And boys say, I want to be a table, or I want to be a dog. I saw a woman trying to act like she was a horse. She said she identifies as a horse. A parent messaged me 2 days ago, concerned that their eight-year-old daughter came home from school and said, Daddy, am I a boy or a girl? And the brother messaged me right away and says, my God, what is this? And then when they inquired, there was a family in the school, parent in the class. With the child, they didn't want their child to identify themselves in anything. So we're faced with this difficulty. And, what do we do? What do we do to basically deal with this issue, right? What do we do to basically deal with this issue? So we need to understand that being a parent is not easy today, but we need to go back to the correct understanding of our deen that has the blueprint on how to be good parents. Now, so today I wanted to answer some questions with regards to parenting in the next few minutes, and to see if I can bring some context and some knowledge to your specific issues. So again, I've been a principal for quite so many years. Before that, I was a teacher. I've been a counselor for over 17 years now. I've dealt with all kinds of communities, so I've seen it. I'm not the perfect parent. I'm not lecturing here, but I am a parent. And I've been a parent for a very long time. And I'm still, alhamdulillah, quite young. And I became a parent very young. And I learned a lot. I made a lot of mistakes. And I've seen people making a lot of mistakes, especially dealing with parents in schools. So definitely, I believe that it is something that we need to address more and more. Now, should video games be allowed if the child does his chores? Depends what and how you can control it, because video games can be very addictive. Yes, they can, but the parents should put a limit. For example, like half an hour, you do your chores, you can play this video game, and that's it. And then after that, it stops. Now, I think, Brother Sand, we've already discussed this in private. I don't think we should be talking this in open. We already discussed this, and it's not linked to this whatsoever. Now, how to raise multiple children, like more than five? Yeah, here, obviously, if there's more than five, then it needs to be a joint effort. Alhamdulillah, I know we used to have families around us. These days, everyone lives in their own environment. No, we need to live together, not necessarily in the same house, but our parents, like we used to say, raised by the village, right? Is the old African saying. Um, it has to be together. Mothers can help each other, sisters in Islam. It doesn't have to be your children or their children, sisters in law. Everyone has to work together as a community. If we don't work as a community, as a ummah, it's just a family, my children, this and that. SubhanAllah, we see in the African villages of the Muslims before, where everyone is to put their hands together. All of them used to work together, extended family, but community as well. How to get small children away from the iPad, especially when mother or father have played with them and must work on their task. Yeah, of course, sometimes mother and father have to do their work. But again, that's why I believe in gender roles, and I believe mothers have to take a lead in raising the children. Men is more about quality as opposed to quantity. Women, both quantity and quality. Men can maybe take care of the tasks and whatever needs to be done to bring the money. If there's a lot of children, maybe if they have the money, mashallah, they can get some help, hire someone. But I don't recommend that they always go to the iPad. Okay, half an hour, 1 hour, once, but it's like same time. It's a reward. They understand that if they misbehave, you can remove it from them. Not that they scream. Do not give in to the screaming of your children. That conditions them. It's a stimuli. It's basically a negative stimuli. And it conditions them to understand that if they scream, they get what they want. Okay, it's going to affect you even worse. So do not give in to them. You've established a certain boundary, a certain time limit, stick to it. They scream, they kick, they jump, they this and that. Most parents, the kids are smart. They know exactly what they're doing. And that is why they're able to control the situation. Scream, kick, cry, and then I'll get my iPad. No, you're not getting your iPad. You can climb on top of the walls or on the ceiling. I'm not going to give you the iPad. Then they relax and they realize. Asian parents are quite good at not giving in to their children. No. We'll stick to questions with regards to parenting, inshallah. Bismillah. Homeschooling is important, as I said before in my previous. No, homeschooling is important. How should we increase the confidence of children without them becoming arrogant? Confidence is backed up by skill. Arrogance is backed up by air. There's nothing. So increase them in skills, confidence, chores, where they know they participate in the family and they understand why it's important, understanding, reasoning behind their actions, behind what they put them. If you put them in martial arts, for example, why? To protect your family, your sisters, to be strong. The Prophet ﷺ said the strong Muslim is better than the weak Muslim. Bring context and understanding, rationale, and they will not become arrogant. They'll build skills and keep reminding them of the issue of arrogance in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the strength and being confident is not the same as arrogance. Alhamdulillah. Al-Asna Institute homeschooling curriculum. Okay. MashaAllah. Al-Asna Institute. That's something we have to look at, inshallah. Yes, no doubt, iPad and electronic devices can cause brain issues for children. If you make your child memorize Quran at early age, you will see the outcome in your life and after you die. That is correct, Brother Ahmed Al-Utaybi. That is correct, subhanAllah. And that's why getting the children early into Quran, they don't like it. Don't beat them for it. The Prophet never beat children for Quran or never encouraged. Sadly, some people beat them for it. Just encourage them and keep pushing them. It's sometimes the nagging has to be done because they don't understand what's good for them at that time. Don't give in to them screaming and crying and I don't want, I don't want, I don't want. As Brother Ahmed said, yes, in the end, it will come to be good and to benefit you in this life and the hereafter. Now, Alhamdulillah. Okay, very good. How important is to achieve financial freedom for family's sake? It is important because when you have financial freedom, you can have more resources, you can do more things, you can spend more time with your family, you can do a lot more with your family. Now, very good question, James. How to have intimacy while having children? So it's a very, very good question actually. The wife and the husband have to find a schedule or a way while it doesn't remove the, how can I say, the passion? Because when you're in a schedule, you're kind of like, oh, here we go again. So usually, if the husband comes home and he works, and not the woman comes home later than the husband, and that's how it was. The women would get ready. They would put the children to sleep. They would get them to do chores. They'll do all kinds of stuff, and it's like known that hey, the husband is going to come home. So there should be times. The Prophet ﷺ told us about the 3 times. So the Prophet ﷺ in Hadith Tirmidhi, he would wake up for Qiyam and he would split the night in three parts. Okay, the hadith Tirmidhi about the qiyam, and he talks about this. So he would sleep for a third, he would pray qiyam for a third, and he would turn to bed to have intimacy with his wife. So actually, even some people have talked about that. This is a great time, like early in the morning before Fajr. It's a great time for intimacy because your food is digested, you have a lot of strength, and so the Prophet would be intimate in the before Fajr in the morning. Okay, so it has to be a good understanding and balance between husband and wife, that it doesn't become like so systematic. It's like, okay, now we know after Isha or after this time or after we're gonna have intimacy. No, because then it kind of removes the passion, right? I can still have some element of surprise, but to work together. The husband comes home, the children are ready, they can spend some time, read some books, love each other, blah blah blah. Then the kids go to sleep, and then the husband and wife should have time together. If not, relationships don't survive. If there's no healthy intimacy, relationships suffer a lot. In my counseling, what I see, marriage counseling, most and many of the relationships suffer due to intimacy issue. Now, Jaguars, after having kids, my wife is no longer interested to make love. What should I do? Yeah, there is sometimes this postpartum, depression that women go through. You need to communicate with her. You need to talk to her and tell her why, to understand. Maybe she's suffering. Women have issues sometimes in their intimate parts after pregnancy, after giving birth. Imagine, I mean, the child came out of her. It's quite a painful experience. It's no joke. So you need to talk to her and ask her why is she suffering, is there a problem, medical issue, so on and so forth. And with time, you have to just make sure you approach her in the correct way. You connect to her emotionally and spiritually. When a woman doesn't feel well, she will reject intimacy, even though she shouldn't. It's not allowed. But psychologically, I'm trying to explain to you, if the woman is somehow has a trauma or something has happened, or she's not feeling well emotionally or psychologically, she cannot necessarily come to intimacy. She should, but I'm talking about what happens, right? Mentally, she cannot sometimes. So communicate, talk, ask why. Maybe you need to understand something. Maybe you need to work together. Maybe there's certain things you need to be aware of, and you can work, and then hopefully it'll come back, inshallah. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. When should a married couple have children? Whenever they can. The Prophet ﷺ said, I'll take pride in my ummah and their numbers. Whenever, I don't know, this whole like planning and so on. The Prophet ﷺ allowed for some scholars say certain forms of contraception. At that time, it was to pull out, not to ejaculate inside the woman. Could be interpreted, but I don't know. Allah knows best. Husband and wife can discuss it, and whatever they're comfortable with, inshallah, they can. If they cannot, they're not ready to have children right now. It's not like a fard. They have to have children right now. You can be together for some time, get to know each other, enjoy each other, and so on. Okay. Any book recommendations for parenting? There is parenting in Islam. Not the best necessarily, but it's okay. And inshallah, I'm working on writing one, inshallah. There are a few. I think some people are starting to write. Alhamdulillah, we need more writers, inshallah. What is the father's role when it comes to a girl child versus boy child? The father is very important in the girl's development, in both actually. And the father has to provide that male, masculine love to the girl. So the girl doesn't look around for some boy in her school or in her community. And a lot of times, subhanAllah, some of the lesbian women who turn to be lesbian in their adulthood, they report that they didn't have that male presence in their life, or something happened traumatic with a male presence. So I think even for boys, they'll report that they didn't have a male presence. The whole issue of homosexuality. Many of homosexuals that I counsel would say the same thing. Parents are important, but males are important in girls' lives. They offer that protection, that sense, that masculinity. Girls should hug their fathers, should feel that he's protective, of course, to a certain age. But it's very important for the healthy development of a woman, of a strong woman, a good woman, a feminine woman, to have the father in her life. There should be, the father should say, I love you, you're beautiful, compliment her, because this is what will build her confidence and her love and her respect for the men. Actually, studies show that women choose men that look like their father or their brother, and they don't even know it. What they did is they superimposed characteristics of father and mother over certain images of men, and then they asked the women, which one do you find attractive? And they found that the ones that have characteristics of their brothers and why is it like something weird? No, it's because they start respecting, they start feeling connection, and it's not something bad. Don't think that way, like I will be less sexual. No, it's just like you're raised with the men that you respect, and then you find that these are the men that you kind of want. Of course, it's not going to be them, it's going to be someone else, but who have those characteristics. It will be like that. A woman will look for a man who somehow resemble her father in the way he was, the way he took care of her, the way he protected her, and so on. Okay, this is separate this from sexual attraction. Okay, we're talking about emotional connection and certain characteristics. Very, very important. All right. Now, so it's very, very important for a father to be involved in the emotional upbringing of a girl, of girls. I have three girls, and even like you listen to them, and sometimes they want to tell you they have a crush or something like that. Don't just jump to say this and that. Train them, teach them, be there. Like we talk about what will happen in the future, marriage, this and that. Don't be shy to have these proper discussions within the boundaries and within the respect, because they're going to have it with someone else if not. So fathers, I don't know. For me, I'm not shy whatsoever. The Prophet ﷺ told us to have mercy on our children, to kiss them, to hug them, to take care of them. It is part of the healthy development of a child's psychology, be it male or female. I have a niece who keeps hitting her younger cousins. How do we stop this? Yes, they need to talk. You need to talk about this. You need to keep reminding her. She's hitting for a reason. She's seen someone doing that. She's seen something. Okay. She's been basically conditioned to think that this is correct behavior. And that behavior has to be rationalized out of her. All right. She's probably watched something, and children do reenact the same. So the clown experiment, if you look in psychology, right? The clown, or whatever it's called, the clown. So the adult would put these clowns in a child's in children's room. Children play, and then the adult would come and start punching the clown. And then you find that the kids would start doing the same thing after the adult leaves, right? If not, they wouldn't. The clowns were just there. These air clowns, what is it called? Um, Inflatable clowns. So when the adult would leave, this is an experiment. When the adult would leave, after punching the clown, then the child will start punching the clown. So there's probably something that they've seen, and it needs to be addressed. Bismillah. Now, walaikum salam. How to get a toddler, 3 years old, stop being afraid of random objects like smoke alarms and so on. Again, there must have been something that happened to them to make them afraid. So you can slowly condition them or desensitize them to these things. So slow exposure, guided exposure to these things. Talk to them, look, touch it, feel it. Look, it's just the plastic, it's just this, it's just that. Start with a lower impact stimuli and then expose to more. Okay, just like fears, we have to face our fears in our lives. Don't let it build, because later on, but it has to be gradual. You cannot just be like, okay, start the alarm and put him in front of it. No, it has to be slowly gradual. Maybe when an alarm of a phone, slowly lower volume, slowly desensitize. And as age grows in, you continue so that they don't end up having a trauma while they're older, because that's going to affect their personality. How do I get financially free to support my family? I'm 17. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I was 17. I was working in school. I was working and going to school. I was working in many times full time, and I was going to school. Sometimes I would work midnights. It's sacrifice, bro. It's sacrifice. How do I protect my family from liberal views? By teaching them the correct way. Sometimes you cannot stop them from hearing things. You have to just have guided exposures and show them what is right, what is wrong, teaching the correct aqidah, the correct Islam. Um, Choose which place you live in. Maybe you need to make hijrah from a neighbor to another, from a country to another, from a school to another. Try to reduce the impact of the negative environment. Can you reduce it, make it zero? No, but we are responsible to try our best. How to teach children adab when their father disciplines them verbally and wife intervenes in front of them, clashing with husband's methods of tarbiyah. Yes, indeed, this is a huge problem where husband and wife don't agree on the discipline method. And the wife usually jumps in and says, no, don't touch them, don't do this, don't do that. And it goes back to the issue, can you discipline your children? Of course you can, but to a certain age, you cannot. The Prophet said up to 10, right? For prayer, for example. For prayer, yes, for prayer. He says beat them, okay, for prayer. And for other things as well. Scholars have talked about this. Does it mean abuse? No, I've talked about this in lecture before. That's why the West has, no hands-off policy, because it's abuse for them. For us, it's about discipline and fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But be careful that it's not out of anger. It's discipline, and anger is two different things. Some man husbands just out of anger, everything the kid says, smack, smack, smack. This is not correct. This is not the sunnah. This is against. This is dhulm. This is haram. Got to be very careful. But the wife should not. If the husband is good, man, he knows how to discipline according to sunnah, not losing his temper, knows how to verbally warn, and so on and so on. And the woman just jumps in. This is very, very wrong, counterproductive, and destroys and undermines the authority of the husband. And same if the husband, sometimes the man doesn't, the wife is more strong and more directive and disciplining the kids, and the man, leave him alone, leave him alone. So no, this is both sides is wrong. They have to talk. They have to talk. They have to talk and agree and make sure that, hey, you know what? We're not going to do this. We agree on the methods. Sometimes you can play bad cop, good cop type of thing, but still never, ever go against the other or the one who puts their foot down on discipline. And it should be the father and the mother too. Both of them can have the same. It can be consistent. It has to be consistent. Bismillah. And if I have thin walls, how do I have intimacy without waking up the children? So let them know what's being happened. Brother James, yeah, I mean, maybe you need to move. You maybe need to go to a different room where it's a bit farther. I understand. I understand. This can, be noise and wake them up and this and that. It is a correct question, but you have to find ways around it. It is what it is. You have to either go farther. If that's the case, the noises are loud, and this cannot be stopped. Sometimes, it's going to reduce the quality of the intimacy. Is there something wrong with making noise while making love? No, there's nothing wrong with making noise while making love. This is part of the enjoyment. But maybe you have to look for a time. Maybe, I don't know, the schedule. Maybe when the children are not around. Maybe you need to move to another place with thicker walls. Maybe you can do insulation. You need to look for, but never stop your intimacy with your wife just because the kids, this and that. My 1-year-old sleeps in our bed. How to get intimate with the wife? Yeah, that's horrible. We should not. Many couples make this mistake to have the children sleep in the bed between them, and it destroys the relationship. Sadly, it destroys the relationship. And many women use the children to be a barrier between them and husbands, and this is incorrect. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us, Ya Rab. Now, so tell your wife that, hey, we need to get them used to, put them to sleep early, or even if they fall asleep in your bed, move them to their bed so you can have intimacy. Unfortunately, religious mother-in-laws don't train their daughters in these finer techniques of religious submission to the husband. Indeed, they don't. This is a big problem. a big problem. But again, remember, uh, um, a woman will submit only to a strong man and a good man, a righteous man. Yes, noise reducers is very important. You can. Okay. What's a practical way to find a spouse when you don't have parents that can help you? Through the imams of the masjid, people that you know, certain services that are okay still. We're coming up with Easy Nikah, inshallah, soon, a marriage service that's very simple. Half our deen, maybe there's a few apps that are not so good, to be honest. So I don't want to recommend necessarily, but half our deen I think is okay, and the one that we're going to come up with, inshallah, Easy Nikah. And the imams in masjid, go to masjid, different community, and say, look, this is who I am. I need to get married. Do you have anyone? And sometimes women also go and say, and families, tell imams. To me, a lot of people come and say, hey, I want to marry. Do you know anyone? And so on. No. Thank you for all you do. I'm the mother of three boys. Dad is always for months for work purposes. Advice, please, to keep them strong without their dad. Okay, when the father comes, Sister Hannah, let them respect him. Don't, the fact that he's away for months, don't let him lose respect for him. Always talk about their father so they get excited when he comes. Talk about his strength, about being a good man. So when he comes, they have this, can't wait to see him. And also point them out to other men in the community that are strong. If you go to the masjid, there's certain men. You can say, okay, look, see this brother, maybe leader of the masjid, imam of the masjid, muaddin, stories of the Sahaba. Read to them at night about the stories of the Sahaba, about different strong men. You can, show them certain cartoons, for example, about strong, Sahaba. There are a few, like Ain Jalut and so on. You can. So, but always when the father comes, build up the excitement that they respect him. Remember, the armies would leave for 3-4 months. Omar Khattab made it that the Mujahideen would come back every 3 months because of intimacy issues and because of seeing their family. Subhanallah. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah. Doing well. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, you need to get the children to sleep earlier. Get them to sleep earlier away from your beds. It will destroy things, guys. If a man doesn't have intimacy, even for the woman, sometimes the man has more like I feel now and I want to do it. The woman is more like I'm not really feeling it, but she can feel it after she starts doing it. Very important for a relationship to have healthy intimacy. Very, very important. Now, Bismillah. Okay, questions? Yes. Okay, guys, I don't know. You're talking about different things. I cannot see the questions now. People are discussing about themselves. Okay, question is, wait, I'm losing here track. Bismillah. What's your take on interracial marriages? Is interracial marriages? Yeah, it's okay. Um, why not? As long as Islam is strong. But of course, compatibility is very important. So sometimes the culture also has to be compatible. But sometimes you have like Pakistani, Arabs, Somalis living in like the West, right? So their culture is actually Western, even though they have different colors. So it works. But if someone is like from there and they come together, could have an issue because cultures are a bit different. Okay, cultures are a bit different. So yes, it is okay. Sahabas married, and some were different status, different. Salman al-Farsi, Bilal, others who married Arabs can, but always have look at compatibility is also important. It's also important. But Islam is number one. No doubt, Islam is number one. But compatibility is also important. So I believe if it's the same culture, they raised in the same, like in America, for example, or UK, and he's Somali and she's Pakistani, yeah, it works because their culture is Western in a way. They look different, but their culture is the Western. Why do you associate yourself with Abu American? We divorced 12 women, admitted most of these women or divorced between 6 to 8. I don't know about his personal life, to be honest. We've done some shows talking about masculinity. As for details, I would need to check with him. I don't know, to be honest. I've done certain shows with him. He's what I see is a good brother, but I would need to look into these details. But thank you for bringing that up. And as to why he divorced and this and that, problems of marriages and stuff like that, I don't really get involved unless people come to me. It's not like my thing to get into why people divorced and this and that. And how many times? I don't know. If there's any proof and there's a problem, then I don't know, maybe we can advise. But for people to start picking on marriages and get involved into personal lives, I just want to mention one thing. When non-Muslims want to discredit Islam, what's the first thing they do? Just look online. The first thing they do is they attack the marriage life of the Prophet ﷺ, that he divorced, that he married so many women, that he did this, he did that. You'll find that the greatest attacks on the Prophet ﷺ, we spend so many years on Iqra.org to refute these attacks. Okay, they always try to discredit him by attacking his personal life as to why the Prophet ﷺ divorced one woman or why he married this or why that and what these details you can find in the Sirah. But the non-Muslims try to discredit him and attack his family life, subhanallah. And this is not, I don't know, this is very bad. We refuted these allegations, of course, but you find that every time someone wants to discredit someone, they always go for his personal life. I'm not saying that necessarily this is right, this is wrong, but it's very difficult for someone to just make a decision and say, okay, this is bad or this is not bad. No. If discussing everything with the children is done by parents, won't this eliminate bashfulness in the kid in specific things? It depends at what time and how. Some cultures feel like that, but the process and discuss things. The children are going to learn. You have to understand to use hikmah. The children are learning. They're being surrounded. So I believe the parents as murabbi, they have to make tarbiyah. How do I increase testosterone in males? Workout, lift heavy and run. Workouts are the natural way in certain foods. My brother has Down syndrome. Yeah, subhanallah, keep spitting and shouting at me. With Down syndrome is subhanallah. This is a syndrome that is not easy. He cannot control. Have patience, have understanding, control it. Know that you have to have patience and mercy because of what he's suffering from. Subhanallah. Living with a step parent is the greatest single risk factor for child abuse. Subhanallah, I don't know. Could be, I don't know. Depends. I know many great stepfathers who have taken care of the children of other women, mashallah. How to discuss puberty with children before internet teaches them? Discuss it. Just talk about it. I've put a video there how to talk about sex to children and about masturbation. You can see if you go back in my videos, inshallah. From a child's perspective, I grew up in a confident, not caring about my grades. Don't share much with the parents. Why do you think it happened? I'm affected until now. Not confident and not caring about my grades. Don't share much with parents. It depends. I'm not sure exactly. There might have been certain things that happened to you that caused you to not care about things. Maybe it was a coping mechanism for you to deal with certain pain or certain issues that are going around. You can message me on on social media, Instagram or Facebook, and maybe we can discuss this issue. You're naturally high testosterone or not? No, you can increase testosterone. Bismillah. Is discipline different when it comes to girls and boys? Yes, to an extent, except for Salah. Okay, but yes, okay. There is a certain difference, okay? Because in terms of tasks and chores, you have to put guys to do certain things and girls to do certain things. But in terms of, halal and haram, the same thing for halal and haram for boys and girls, you deal the same way. But in terms of obviously, discipline is not about just punishment. It's about also reinforcement. So you try to push your boys into a certain direction to be men, and you try to push your girls in a certain direction to be girls. Okay, but definitely discipline is not only about punishment. As for punishment, if they do something wrong, yes, of course, you'll punish them. And we look in the Quran, the punishment for adultery is the same for men and women, right? Fornication, same for men and women, right? There's so many punishment. Theft, for same for women and women, right? But in terms of disciplining, not just punishment, but guiding them and so on, there's a certain approach with boys and a certain approach with girls. I say for boys, it has to be a bit stronger in directing them. For girls, obviously, you're directing them in a different way. How to maintain masculine frame. Um, Food, strength, training, iman, knowledge, yaqeen, uh, this being decisive, working hard. This is all inshallah. Bismillah. I am the father, but it looks like if I have no right to talk to my daughter. You have to talk to your daughter. You have to, as a father, talk to your daughter. You have to have great conversation with your daughter. Some people are ashamed. Some men are ashamed to talk to their daughters. Do not, because your daughters will be looking for some boy to talk to. Because look, sometimes women think that women just talk to each other and they open up to their best friends. No, actually, it's not like that. Women do have a need to talk to men sometimes, and they will be looking for, certain boys, be it if they're going to school or whatnot. And trust me, but based on my experience as a counselor, I deal with these issues. So when the father opens that door for her to be able to talk to him, of course, with respect and with limits, then at least she knows that she has that male perspective that she can go to and understand. No. I said about international marriages, alhamdulillah. Okay. Bismillah. Yes, I do recommend interracial marriages. It can interracial marriages, as I said, if the culture is similar. Putting kids into public school, I don't, because at those are formative stages. Unless you're in a Muslim country, but even then, subhanAllah, these days is very difficult. Those are formative stages. The most important stages are that people think, oh, till they're little, and this, they're teaching 4-year-olds about gay sex, astaghfirullah, about having two fathers. Okay, in the UK curriculum, for example, be careful. Where do Muslim men meet women for marriage in the West? Through the Imam of the Masjid, inshallah. Yes, and for converts to go to masjids, introduce yourself, leave your profile, talk to people, ask people. Don't be shy. Ask, ask, ask. You have to keep looking. Opinion me teaching my daughters Muay Thai for the purpose of self-defense. I teach my daughters how to fight for self-defense, not for competition, not extremely, not a lot, but enough for them to be able to defend themselves. So yes, I do. But not to be like masculine and to compete and to like do it every day. No, once in a while we get together and we do it. I teach them so that in case anything happens, they have to defend themselves. They can. Can I take my daughter to the masjid, pray with me? And what age must we stop having them stand by our side in Jama? You can, but she should not be standing necessarily by your side because she will be breaking the saf if there's saf anyway. She can stand in front of you or so on. They climb around, and this is the process that used to do that. By the time they start, I mean, look, women don't have to go to masjid, but can they? Yes. Can you take your girls to the masjid? Yes, sometimes. Um, but they like 6, 5, 4. They're cute. They're playing around and so on. Once they start becoming 7, 6, 7, I don't think it's appropriate anymore for them to stand in front of you, and so on. And they can come with the mom to the masjid, or sometimes, not always. It's always better for women to pray at home. They get more ajr. That does not mean that you don't bring him sometimes. Sometimes you can come as a family to the masjid and they go to the girls' side with the mom. But there's like little babies, 3-year-old, 4-year-olds. Yes, I used to do that, and there's nothing wrong with that. What do you do if you know you're not going to get married? Why should you not get married? You should get married. Allah will help you get married. Have intention, inshallah, to get married. Okay? Have intention to be married, inshallah. Why not? Have intention always to be married, inshallah. Bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help you. Ameen. May Allah bless all of you. Now, now. What if you don't have an attachment rapport with your father and your mom is not attentive, nurturing despite this? They have a say in your marriage or need to be present during nikah. Yes, of course they should. If you're a girl, you have to have your wali with you. Sadly, some walis, and I made a video about this, walis failing in their responsibility. It is true. So while in an Islamic country, a woman who wants to get married, she can raise this issue to a judge. And the judge will call the parents and will see if they're not befitting to be walis. But not just like that by herself. She just goes and messes around. But so you have to be careful. Wali is to be respected, parent to be respected. They failed in their responsibility. Sadly, that does not necessarily invalidate their being wali. But as I said, in a Muslim country, and that's the problem, we don't have a Muslim system. A lot of women complain about not being protected, having abuse, men not being good, this and that. In a Muslim country, is a bit different, or at least in the Muslim system, that there is support, there is protection. My father was hard on me growing up. It gave me discipline, alhamdulillah. But as a kid, I feared him, did not want him around. How do we balance this? By strength and discipline as well as love. So as the Prophet said, beat your children if they don't pray, but he also hugged and kissed the children and had proximity and that mercy. So it has to be balanced. I do provide online counseling. You can see my Instagram. The link is there, and my Facebook. Now, inshallah. طيب, barakallah fikum. Yes, online counseling, inshallah. Okay, let us end now. Barakallah fikum. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. Inshallah, we'll do more. We will do more. Bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. I will announce it a bit more. I'm just testing different things, and I hope this was beneficial. Forgive me if I didn't answer some of your questions. Things are moving fast. I'm still trying to get used to it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of you. Please check out the other videos and help us to continue spreading the message of Islam. Dealing with education, masculinity, parenting, marriage, all kinds of real life situations, inshallah. Barakallahu fikum. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته